Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you again for joining me on Break Free from Your Monkey Mind podcast. And today, this is season 2, episode 8. And this one's called How Do You Know That You're in a Toxic Relationship? This actually came about as I received an email last week after the episode that I did on psychological masks. And this person said that they feel that's something they do quite a lot. They put the masks on, especially personas, act to deal with really different situations. And the reason they do that is because they believe they're in a relationship with someone who's manipulating them. Now, they asked me to actually do an episode on it, and I'll be honest, it's not a subject I've actually had a lot of dealings with before, not firsthand anyway. But it's been quite an eye-opener because I decided to look into it. They asked for that, so I'd always said I would do whatever anybody asked me to do. So I thought I'd just start with some of the things that I found. Just looking at, first of all, what do I mean by like a manipulator or a toxic relationship? Looking at things that cause that, I think you can be looking out for is this things that's happening to you. Maybe just looking what you can do about it and giving some contacts that people can go to if they think they need help. It said it's not something I've done firsthand, but I have known people who've been through situations like this. And I've had a bit of both. I've had ones who through really rough patches because of what happened, and to people who know them outside their families or outside their friends or work colleagues might find it hard to realise they were still together after what had happened, but they decided to work through it. Now, I've known a few people at this, and one of them I spoke to recently when this came up. I asked them a simple question: why did you stay? I never realised until they told me now how bad it was for them. I knew it was bad, but not as bad as they've told me. But they said because they still loved them. They felt the person wasn't the person they'd married. They felt that they needed help. And that's a different perspective. Look at it from the person who contacted me. I think that's something that people would have to decide on their own, whether a relationship when it's like this can be salvaged. Whether you want to salvage it in the first place. And if so, how do you ensure it's not going to happen again? And the only way would be is if both these are really fully entrenched in the fact you want to get help and go out and get that help. And then you still have some doubts probably that it could ever come back. So it's something to consider if this does affect you. One thing I would say, because some of the things on it may resonate with people, it's not saying that all of this is people might try and fit things in because things that's happened in their own life. There are things that happen in relationships that have ups and downs. Start off firstly is what I mean by toxic relationship. It's when one of the parties' behaviour is classed as either emotionally or physically harmful to another person. So whilst, for example, you're in what you call a healthy relationship, you feel or expect at least to feel loved, respected, probably listened to, understood, cared for. But in a toxic relationship, you very rarely might hear these things. If so, it's only to get something they want, when you never hear it at all. So in that healthy relationship, you normally have, I said, these ups and downs. And there can be times when you think about it that you don't listen to each other. There's times when you get annoyed with each other. Maybe you don't even speak. Some people that instead of arguing will just literally go quiet, or they'll go into another room just to avoid that escalating in any way. And they just don't know how to deal with that. In a toxic one, there's very little that one person does that will always be wrong, or little things that will always be wrong for them, things that they can do, no matter how trivial it seems to them. It can cause arguments, it can cause fights, it can escalate, and it actually can turn into serious mental abuse and physical abuse in cases as well. So, like I said, what do people look out for? Well, from what I can find and talk to people, there's a multitude of signs. And I've got a few of them here, but this is not extensive. It's not complete at all. But it may give you an idea. It may even give you a greater understanding of what I'm actually meaning by a toxic relationship. So the first thing that came out when I speak to people is they make you feel really guilty. They put all the onus on it's always your fault. You start feeling and you start believing them that everything you do is your fault. If something goes wrong, stupid things might be the dinner's not right, it's not what they want that day, the dinner can be cold, a house is not cleaned, etc. someone I remember when I was young, we told about in a situation like this happened, that the person used to come in from the pub, have a couple of drinks, come home. If they didn't like what was on the plate, they just threw it against the wall. Plate smash, everywhere. And then it was the other person's fault because they gave them the wrong dinner. But then they started to go and clean it up. Well, they would go for a lie down or watch football or maybe go for a beer, whatever. But it can happen both sides with male and female. When you get these situations, it's not necessarily just one gender that is it. Anybody can actually suffer this. Another thing is it is disrespect. They don't listen to a thing you say. They only listen to themselves. There's nothing that you can say that's going to be of value to them, or they'll make you feel like nothing you say interests them. You may arrange for a special night out, maybe it's a birthday or an anniversary or just something special you've arranged to go out, and you make all the arrangements, you arrange the place, you get yourself ready, you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. And either they just turn up late and say, oh, I can't really bother going now, it's too late. Or they don't turn up at all, they decide to do something else. And they just forget about it, not bothering, but your feelings are in with it. Sometimes it's they actually might turn up and you go, and because they're late, it just makes them feel awkward and out with you. So they will spark up a conversation with whoever company you're with. And when you try and speak, they'll either talk over you or just ignore you completely in front of the company. It's as if you don't matter, you don't exist, only they do. And because of all that, you start living in constant fear. I don't mean just fear that something's going to happen, but it's the fear and just dread that whatever you say, whatever you do, is never going to be right. It's never going to be good enough. You're not good enough. That's how you start to feel. To the extent that you start to watch everything you say, everything you do. Just when you do things, if there's certain programs on, or if they're listening to music or something that's on, you actually try and avoid the same room so you're not going to disturb them in any way, just so you don't set them off. You also find that they'll restrict when you can go out. What I mean is they'll start saying, well, no, you can't go out with this person or that person or them. They'll maybe start checking your phone, you people checking phones, tablets, laptops. They're looking for anything on social media. Anything that's on that they think is not right. It could all be totally innocent, just friends having a bit of banter. What colleagues do all the time, don't they? You just wind each other up and mess around. But they will take that a different way if it's something that they don't think is right. In that respect, they start slugging you off all the time. What I mean is, one thing getting told, they keep saying is, well, you're not exactly going to get looking like that, are you? Or you're not good at me looking like that. It can be really horrible, really cutting comments that they make about the things you wear or how you look. You're looking tired, everything. Well, no wonder if you're doing everything in the house, you may be keeping a job, you're doing things there. You're doing everything possible for the other person. They do practically nothing, but then tell you how bad you look because you're doing everything. That's how they make you feel that it's all you. As a result of that, you may find even, say, a lot of people stop taking care of themselves. Don't bother about doing their hair in the morning. Don't bother about what clothes you wear. You're not bothered about how you look at all or how you are because you're not going anywhere, you're not meeting anybody. You're not actually doing it. So you start literally just not bothering with any routines you would normally do. Maybe even to the extent of not getting up and have a shower in the morning, you just go, I'm going to get everything done for the other person and then get everything else done. You just don't seem to have time for yourself or you don't make it. One really important aspect as well is they actually restrict your money. They might not allow you to have any money for you to spend on yourself or clothes or for things, items that you need. It's personal to you. You don't want to have to keep going cap in hand and asking for money, but that's the way they like it. They control that money, so they control you. They manipulate you. This is all manipulation. They'll give you enough money to pay for the household things that they need, but nothing extra. And that manipulation can make you feel trapped, but also that you're being suffocated. Literally from the inside out, you feel suffocated. It can lead to physical abuse as well as mental. And some of the physical abuse can start small. It can start way small. And you're not saying they don't hurt like that. Not being small in that way, but small in the respect that they can't really be noticed by other people. So maybe small bruises or small little cuts that are easily hidden. Normally, initially anyway, a lot of they're smart, they don't touch on the outside, like your face and things that other people will notice, unless they're in a deep rage. But then that escalates. You'll find that the injuries get more severe you'll find yourself lying about the injuries. And how often do you hear this? You've seen it in programs. You hear people talking about it. Oh, well, I cut my fingers in the door. I was just being stupid. Or I fell down the stairs. I was drunk and I fell over and banged my head. I banged into a door, so I got a black eye. Sometimes people laugh at these things because the excuses seem so stupid because people always do it. And it's the same excuses to keep hearing. If you go to a hospital that with the injury, they will hear all of that. So they'll know. If you recognize this and it sounds like your relationship, and deep down you really know you cannot change that person, there's nothing about them that you will be able to change. If they feel there's nothing they're doing is wrong, or maybe they feel they don't need help, sometimes you actually get the impression they always feel as if it's everybody else's fault because they're perfect. You need to get out, especially if you have had physical abuse, or you are sitting there now in fear that the abuse you are taking, the manipulation, the neglect you're getting could lead to physical abuse, then you shouldn't be there. What you should be starting to do, if any of these signs of that are there, build a little network for yourself. Network that you can ready to go if you're going to leave. Friends, people you trust. Start to make a little plan of what you do if you were going to become independent. How would you do it? What would you do? You'd maybe go to someone that you can trust, that you can speak to about that. Someone that would understand. Not necessarily someone who's linked to you, because that may get back, but someone you know is outside your own family network, but that you know you could trust whatever you say to them is not going to get back. But remember also, you can seek professional help. Just seek it anywhere you can get it. Any help at all. And one thing for me is, please don't worry about the next move. So many people say they stay because although they could leave, they don't know what will happen next. Where would I go? What would I do? There's no point staying in a relationship when you're a punch bag, or you're manipulated that bad, or you have no feelings, no emotions, your own account. Get out there and start getting your own life back. Take control of your life back. That first step you take by moving out, taking the step to get out. I know it's easier said than done at times, especially if there's children involved or pets or whatever, but you have got to look after you as well. And you've got to make sure that you plan this. If you plan it, there is kids, that's what I'm saying. Get a network of people that you know will be able to help you if that's the situation. But nobody should have to stay in a situation like that. There may be, as I said at the beginning, the people I've spoke to, some who stayed together. Some of you may feel, yeah, we can make this work. But one thing to remember, and this was something I read in one of his reports last couple of days, which I thought was great, and that's you cannot take the toxic out of a person like that. Sometimes you may have heard them call a narcissist. They're always right. They're always perfect. You're always wrong. Nobody can match them. Nobody live up to them. That's in their mind. They're not really like that, but they just think they are. If they are like that, and that's the way they are, you're not going to change them. You might think you do. They might let you believe it for a little bit, but it'll happen. They'll come back to where they normally are. So you have to make that decision for yourself. If you can get the help and you think you can make it work, great, go and do it. But if the physical abuse is that bad, don't wait around for that moment. Even if you make the wee network, you get away and you still want to try and sort it out with them, that's something you could always do. But don't take a chance for your life. And there are always signs that you could have noticed, I mentioned earlier. If you start to notice these signs, try and see if they're willing to seek the help at that point. Because if not, you will never change them. You're not going to make any difference there. And all it will do, as we've said through all this, is it'll escalate. There is places that you can get support. One place that I've had some contact over the last couple of years when I was a mental health first aider at work was the Samaritans. And it quite surprised me because most people thought the Samaritans were only there for people who were intended to take their own life. It's not. They would rather speak to people before anything gets to them near that stage. So if you are suffering from any the mental abuse, the physical abuse, contact them. If nothing else, you're getting that outside you. And when you take all that emotion out of you, it feels a little better when you've relieved a bit of lightness to yourself because you get somebody else involved. But just getting those horrible emotions, the negative emotions out of you. And also, if you can't get any help with them, you feel well, they may be able to pass on or give you, at least they'll be able to give you contact numbers where you can go, maybe in your own local area. There's things that I don't know, because I don't obviously know where everybody's listening to this, but there will be things in your own local area that you can get help with. So speak to somebody like that, or your Citizen Advice Bureau. Go to Citizen Advice, phone them, go to them, check an email. I think Samaritans is, if I'm right here, it's www.samaritans.org. That's ORG. Or Citizen Advice, www.citizenadvice.org.uk. Now, any of those two would be able to help you or give you the advice where to go. Another one, maybe Women's Aid and Refuge is a place. It's number for that 0808 2000 247. That's 0808 2000 247. There's also a men's advice line, which is 0808 801 0327. So that's a men's advice line on 0808 801 0327. Thirdly, if you're part of the LGBT plus community, you can call Gallup, that's GALOP, on 0800 999 5428. That's Gallup on 0800 999 5428. That's for emotional and practical support. There's probably loads more out there. If anybody wants those numbers, again, I can't get it off of this. Contact me, Tony Gordon, at changingyourmindlimited.com. That's Tony Gordon at changingyourmindlimited.com, and the limited is LTD. I'll get you any of these numbers, all the details that I've got, and you can take them and see if you can get help. If I can help in any way, I'm more than happy to. But first, you've got all these to try, and then maybe it'll get you them. If you can't get help quick enough, then obviously speak to me, see what I can do. If it isn't me, I can also get other people. If someone would prefer a female therapist rather than myself, I can get someone that can help with that as well. So please, if this does, I didn't realise how much this was going to actually impact me until I read about all of this. And it really made me realise that if you need this help, please go and get it. Don't wait until it has escalated to that. But if you can get it early enough, I said the signs of that, and you can get help, do that as well. Because you've put a lot of effort and a lot of time, a lot of love into the marriage or into the relationship to be there. Maybe it's something that's underlying, it's causing it, and they need help. But try that anyway. And thank you very much for listening again. I appreciate the emails. And if anybody else has got any suggestions what they would like, then please email me. Again, on Tony Gordon at changingyourmindlimited.com. If I don't know what the subject is myself, I will look at it and then I'll go back to you. And like this, I will find places where you can get the help you need. So thank you again, as I said, for listening in. Next week, I'm going to look at something quite different from this again, unless I get something else that comes in from anybody. I did a couple ones recently on vulnerability and self-awareness. But another thing that's come up with that as well is stress awareness. I did some similar previously, but I've been asked about that again. So unless anybody else comes up with anything else, it will be a stress awareness session, giving you some techniques, a couple of little things to try, a little mindfulness exercise and that you can use that just helps to just break your bubble of stress that's around you. So thank you again, everybody, for listening in. Please take care of yourselves and your families. And I'll see you again and speak to you again next week. It's Tony Gordon finishing off and Break Free in Your Monkey Mind. Thank you very much for joining in.